Are you a fan of horror movies?
Necronomicon Ex Mortis, the Book of the Dead.
What about cult classics?
Your move, creep.
If you are, you'll love Shocking Things. Please search for us on all the major podcasting platforms. To see our social media and a direct link to our podcast, please go to anchor.fm/shockingthings.
Tracy Smothers, Harley Race, Tim Storm, Bushwhacker Luke, Bobby Fulton. The Pro Wrestling Vault, Volume 1, Bill Dundee, Supermax Hernandez, C.W. Anderson, Ricky Morton, Sir Mo, and many others share their stories of determination, triumph, and sorrow. Get your book today at Russellville.com or at Amazon.com. Russellville, it's where wrestling lives.
And we're live. Welcome, everybody, to the PWZ podcast. Joining me today is somebody I wanted to talk to for quite some time, M.I.T. How are you, sir?
Doing good tonight, Rick. Doing good. How about you?
I'm doing good. I think you might be having a little bit of an issue with the sound, but bear with us a little bit. I want to know, tell me about when did you get interested in professional wrestling? How did you discover it as a kid?
I discovered professional wrestling when I was probably around 4 or 5. My dad watched it. My mom wasn't a big fan of it. Watched it a little bit with Dad when I would stay with him, and then kind of just fell out of it a little bit. Then probably when I was about 13, 14, I really started getting into it. Watching a lot of Monday Night Raw, Friday Night SmackDown, TNA. Watched that all the way through high school, college. Eventually got done with college, moved in with my dad, started some work up there, and did that. And he was already part of PAPW, and he was wrestling there as the Sarge. So a lot of people know him. And I looked at him, and I was just like, hey, I'd like to kind of just come down to the ring and check it out. And hanging out, I mean, I'd always loved it, and just to get to watch it, I thought it'd be cool. And then the one night I went down there, I was down there just hanging out watching, and Paul Roma looks at me and says, "You want to get in the ring, kid?" I was like, well, I'm not going to say no, especially not to Paul Roma. And got in the ring and fell in love with it right then and there. And I did take a little bit of time off. I trained and wrestled for 11 months from 2018 to 2019. And then I took about 3 years off, and then had to do some stuff back home in Pennsylvania, so I moved back home there. And after that, kind of had a moment where I was able to get back into it and started up at Sanctuary, and then now I'm back down at PAPW and Blood, Sweat, and Tears, and hopefully wherever else it takes me.
Tell us about working Sanctuary. That's in Pennsylvania, correct?
Yeah, it's West Hazleton. Sanctuary's fun. It's definitely different. Like they have the 2 ropes instead of 3. Just the way it is. But it's fun. The acoustics there are awesome. It's in an old church. Like the guy renovated, John Trotsky renovated it all the way just for professional wrestling and to put on shows and whatever other shows he wants to put on there. So they have the whole stage and the ramp, and you walk down to the ring. I wrestled a couple times there. Right now we're kind of in like an off season, so we're hoping to start picking shows back up soon. And then so right now I've really mainly been working PAPW and Blood, Sweat, and Tears.
I've been to one Blood, Sweat, and Tears show. I enjoyed it. What do you think about working there? How do you like that?
I love working wherever someone's willing to give me a spot to work a match. It doesn't matter where it is. I'll go anywhere. I like working there, though. I like the promoter. I like everybody there. The guys in the locker room are always usually really good. So, but no, I like Blood, Sweat, and Tears. It's always a good crowd there. It's always fun. Yeah.
They got another show coming up in June. Are you going to be a part of that show?
Yes, I am a part of that show against Cody Parent. So that should be a fun one. So I've never worked Cody before. I've watched him plenty of times. definitely been studying them. I mean, I study anybody I watch just to make sure in case I have to wrestle them one day. But no, it should be a fun match. I have a feeling it's not going to be too hard of a match for me, but we'll see how it goes.
He knows how to get the crowd to boo him pretty well now, doesn't he?
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to do that though. He's Cody's parent, he's okay.
Right. Tell me about what was your first match?
My first match, okay, well, I guess I have two first matches. My first time I was in a ring in front of a live audience was the Michael J. D'Angelo Battle Royal. That was in 2018. I think I came in at like number 4, something like that, and lasted, I think, to like the final like 10, I believe, something like that. I forgot. I think there was about 20 guys in that one, but that was my first time in front of a live audience. My first singles match, my singles debut, was ironically enough one of my recent opponents, Dustin Waller. So we were opening match. That was New Year's Retribution. That was January 2019. That match was.
Okay, I've come across. I filmed one of your matches, and I've watched the other two this past week. I just want to say, good evening, Sarge. Thank you for tuning in. So, tell us a little bit about the history there. You guys have. I found 3 matches online, including the one that I recorded, and just tell us a little bit about the history between you two.
Yeah, me and Dustin, we started up together. We literally, obviously, we were each other's debut singles match. Started up together, trained a lot together. We trained every day, along with the Haven and Kyline King. We trained with all of them, and we had a good history, I feel like. And then kind of once I went and took my leave and then came back, I kind of felt like I was kind of out of that whole Miracle Generation thing. I kind of feel like I was in there originally. So yeah, I mean, we were cool, and now it's kind of definitely a little bit more bittersweet. But no, yeah, I think the history is there. It's fun. There's definitely still more matches. I'm definitely not done with him after that last match. I still think I should have won that belt. But they said it was a draw, and then they made me wrestle Sean Venor, so I guess wait and see when the next match is, and hopefully it's against Dustin.
The match with Sean Venor was pretty good, I thought. He's a good up-and-comer. I think he's trained at the Monster Factory.
Yeah. He trains Monster Factory. Yeah, never wrestled him before. So once I found out who I was working that night, I obviously just went around on the old interweb and took a look, see what he was doing, seeing how he works. No, it was a good match. Obviously, I came out on top. Obviously, the rope breaking in the beginning of the match was interesting. Did not expect that, especially on the entrances. And I don't know if you saw what had happened with it, but he basically just pushed off. Like, he didn't even really do anything crazy. He just kind of pushed off to get off the ropes and back into the ring. And it came down, and both of us were very shocked at that, especially because we were match 4, so there was 3 matches prior to that. People had been hitting the ropes and going off the turnbuckles and nothing. So yeah, that definitely was different. Definitely different just having to sit there and wait for a second. It was about 5 minutes, I think, till they got that bottom rope switched to the top. But no, yeah, I thought it was a good match. I thought it was a fun match. He put up a fight, but obviously, like I said, I came out on top at the end of that match, and I think it was just another stepping stone for me, and hopefully shows the PAPW management maybe not to take me as lightly. Hopefully, we'll see.
I'm hoping you get to wrestle Flash again soon, because, like you said, there was no clear decision at the end of that match, and it was a draw. So I'm hoping that's going to go forward with that, and that you get another title shot. What's your opinion on that?
No, for sure. I definitely want to have another match against Dustin. Like I said, I'm definitely not done after that last match. I didn't think my shoulders were down.
Mhm.
I believe it was Ref Q counted Dustin's shoulders, and then Bill said mine were down. So I don't think I was down, but if we have to wrestle again, I'm totally down to wrestle again. I mean, it's as much as I can't stand Dustin some days, I will give it to him. He's been working his ass off for 3 years, and he does show what he shows what he puts out. So
He's been all over the place lately in the Northeast. So
yeah,
it's
I
pretty
think he
impressive.
was just
Yeah.
in Indiana yesterday. I think, wasn't he?
Yeah, they went to Black Label Pro out there, which is
That's what it was. I can't remember
one of the bigger indies in that area.
Mm-hmm.
So the Guardian of Chaos is in the chat and has a question for you. Who has hit you the hardest in the ring?
Oof. Who has hit me hardest in the ring? Honestly, okay. So ironically enough, it's probably my father. And he said I didn't mention him, but obviously he joined late. So hi, Sarge. I mentioned you again. But yeah, it was during the Michael J. D'Angelo Battle Royal, and the Meadowlands Monster, who I think he still wrestles. I don't know if he does anymore. I haven't seen him around lately, so I know he worked with
He
Big
sounds
Jim for
familiar,
a little
yeah.
while. And the Meadowlands Monster, I didn't see him behind me, and he gave me a double chicken wing and picked me up. And at the time, my dad was really into so my dad did the whole, obviously, Sarge, American flag, respects his country, and so he got these footballs, like Under Armour, like the football gloves, with the sticky palms on them. And I'm debuting him in the match. I'm like, oh, cool. And next thing you know, I got my arms here, and I look up, and Dad's right in front of me. He just right down my chest. So that was probably one of the hardest ones. I got a lot of chops that night, but that was probably one of the hardest ones I got, especially because the gloves just stuck right to you. So
You wrestled your father in a singles match, did you not?
yes, I did. That was on a Friday.
Tell me what
night
that was like. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's different. It's definitely different when living with my dad, and then you go to, I mean, to us it's work. So we go to work and we're at the gym, or you're doing that, and it's kind of like you're sitting there and you're just like, this is different. And then once you get in the ring there, it's definitely a different persona. I mean, he goes from Dad to Sarge, and I go from Jackson to M.I.T, and that's the way it goes. And he did beat me that night. A hellacious chokeslam that he put me on like my shoulders. Thanks, Dad. But no, yeah, it was an interesting match. It was fun. I think it was only like a 5-minute match. It was literally my first match. I was just excited to even be on the card. I didn't know who I was wrestling actually till after I got there. I'd been there probably like 20 minutes, and I finally walked up to the promoter and was like, "So, am I working?" And like, "Yeah, you're working with Dad." I'm like, "Cool." I'm like, "This is weird." I'm like, "Okay." So no, it was definitely weird, but it was definitely fun. I had a blast with it. He can't work anymore now, but never know.
There's another question. Who would you work? No, I'm sorry. Who would you form a tag team with in Paradise Alley or any other organization? That's from the GOC.
I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of liking the way. Honestly, I don't know if I'd form something or if I would join something. I mean, not gonna lie. I mean, the Battle Academy guys are kind of on a roll right now. Chris just came new champ. I mean, it's kind of they've been that past year they've had has been pretty solid. And I mean, I already wear red and black, so I mean, it kind of be simple. I wouldn't have to change anything on the gear. Just throw the shirt on and go right in. So, but I don't know. I mean, maybe then maybe I'd hop in there, something like that. I don't know. Other than that, I kind of like singles. I kind of just like doing my own thing.
How did you come up with the gimmick and the name?
So Actually, I can't take any credit for the name. That was all Pretty Paul Roma.
Okay.
So I had recently bought a suit at the time because I was going to my cousin's wedding when I first got in, and around when I had to go to the wedding was like a month or two after my first match was supposed to be. So I was like trying to think of a gimmick. And I was trying to think of maybe like the $1 Million Kid, like they did $1 Million Man at the end. And I was just trying to think of something. I was like, I don't know what I want to do. So I was kind of thinking like maybe do I want to put a mask on, do I not want, like do I want to do more of a luchador and wear a mask? And then I was just kind of like, you know what? Like I went to school, like why not just go off of that?
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I went to this prestigious college. Why not just go off of that? Why not just show people who I am? I'll just outsmart. I mean, I amateur wrestled in high school, so that also was a big helper for me. But yeah, so I was like trying to think of that, and I was like, maybe my school or something. And I looked at Roman. I was like, what do you want me to do? He goes, use your school. And I'm like, what do you mean use it? Like colors? And he's like, no, use the name. And I'm like,
Gotcha. Okay.
and I'm like, huh. And I'm like, okay, but like it's trademarked. It's a college. And he was like, well, think of an acronym for it. And I was like, he's like, and I'm like, okay, Mr. Intellectual. And I got that. I'm like, I can't think of a name that starts with T that sounds half decent. And I text Roma. I'm like, Roma, what do you got? And he's just like, give me a minute. Okay. Literally a minute later, Roma texts me, Tavius. Huh? I'm like, he's like, look it up, and it means smart person. I'm like, okay. There's Roma, just being Roma, and like, literally just being Mr. Intellectual Smart Person. Let's just take smart person and make it fancy sounding. And that's where it came from. And so once I did that, I went and just kind of ran with it. I was like, all right, I'm gonna get a Letterman's jacket and just do all this stuff, and I'll do the very like schoolboy kind of just gimmick. And then after that, after I left and then I came back, then I kind of put my own twist on it. So like originally, I actually came out to the M.I.T. alma mater. Like I literally went on YouTube and found their alma mater from like a live graduation, and threw that on there. And it was cool because it was kind of like really William Regal-esque kind of, and like it was very slow. And then when I came back, I was just like, I don't really want to do like the classic schoolboy gimmick. And so I took the letters off of my Letterman's jacket, got myself a nice leather jacket, and found some rap music I liked. And I was just like, all right, let's do the schoolboy and smart and intellectual, but we'll throw an edgy side to it and just try to make it. I mean, I've seen guys do it with the old school gimmick, and you can't do Hunter Hearst Helmsley again. It's been done. You're not going to do it again.
Right.
And so I'm like, all right, let's try to. So I guess it was kind of a mix of like, I guess a Hunter Hearst Helmsley with like a little Dean Ambrose with a leather jacket. But now he's Mox. So that's kind of with the M.I.T. Mox. Like I was like, okay, well instead of going down the center, let me do it like a Letterman's jacket. I'll go diagonal on it. And yeah, it's just kind of where it is now. I'm kind of just sitting there, and I like where I'm at.
Nick Lane is in the chat and asked, who has been the biggest inspiration in your wrestling career?
Biggest inspiration in my wrestling career. I don't know. I have a lot because, like, I mean, my favorite wrestler is Taker, and that's just I know a lot of people love Taker. I've loved Taker since when I started watching with my dad in like '03. So like it was like surely I think he still was the American Badass at that time.
Okay.
So like, and my dad's big on bikes. I've always loved motorcycles. So like I saw Taker motorcycle. I'm like, oh my gosh, this dude's awesome. So Taker's my favorite. Obviously I do nothing like Taker. It's not my gimmick. You can't try to do that again. But definitely with move wise, it's probably a lot more like I like a lot of Ricky Steamboat, Ricochet, Buddy Murphy or Buddy Matthews now. Yeah, it's kind of that. That's really it. I mean, there's a couple indie guys that I like to watch too. A couple New Japan guys. It's a mix of a lot, really. There's never really just been one set inspiration. I had my favorite guy. I mean, I have my couple of Mount Rushmore guys that I put up there, but in inspiration, really, it's kind of just been, I guess, inspiration on kind of moves. So.
Okay. The Guardian of Chaos. Damn, twins with Sarge, 25 years younger. Uncanny resemblance. I'd have to say the same. Yes, absolutely.
No, I am 100% the better looking one, through and through. And I still have a full head of hair. Well, I don't have a full head of hair, but I have hair. So I'll probably get a text from my father about that in the next 30 seconds on my phone. But,
if he doesn't put it in
no,
the chat.
I get that. I get that all the time, though. Everybody looks at me like, Jesus Christ, you look like your father. Yeah, like you sound like him too. I mean, he's my dad. So.
Right.
Did
you ever have? I'm trying to think of how to say this. Did you ever have? There he is. He goes. He's not wrong, is what he says.
He's thinking. He's thinking.
There you go.
See, he's got the gimmick now.
There you go. Kevin Saban is in the chat as well. Kevin, hello. Thank you for tuning in. Wonderful to see you as always. Tell me more about what you're into as far as like wrestling goes. You mentioned you're inspired by certain guys from New Japan, certain indies. What do you like watching out here in the indies today?
I mean, I'll really watch anything indies. I'll go on YouTube and just type in indie wrestling. I mean, I usually watch a lot of. Now I watch IWTV now that I have that. So I'll put on anything. I mean, I've definitely been watching a lot of Wrestling Open and Beyond and those guys. But yeah, I mean, I'll really watch anything. It doesn't matter. I just watch whatever just to try to see what I can get and tweak to the stuff I like and go from there. Mainstream promotions. I've watched a lot of them, TNA, and then even when it turned to Impact, WWE, New Japan. Other than that, I watched Lucha Underground when that was around. That was a good one. That was probably one of my favorites when they had Prince Puma. Prince Puma was one of my favorites from there. I got a lot of stuff from him and Ray Phoenix. There's a lot of guys from there. Yeah, no, but on indie promotions, really anything, man. I'm down to watch it. I honestly would rather watch an indie show sometimes better than AEW or WWE.
There's something different about it. It's between the fans and the performers, the wrestlers, as opposed to going to like a WWE event. You know what I mean? It's more personal, I guess, if you will.
Yeah, and I think that's really what it is. Is definitely. Like WWE, I mean, yeah, they're close to the fans. Don't get me wrong. I mean, they respect their fans. They love their fans. But I think definitely, like, they see so many. I mean, you go into a stadium, you got 17,000 people sitting there. You can't, like, you go to one of our shows, 50, 70, 100. You can get 200 people. You can make your friends out of 200 people really easily. So, no, definitely, yeah, if you can get the crowd on a good night, man, at the indie show, energy there is something different.
Right. Yeah, man. It's there's just something about independent wrestling I personally love as well. It's just I don't know, man. I just really dig it. There's another question here. It says thoughts on PAPW original Richard Holiday and his style.
Richard Holiday. Richard Holiday. Thoughts on him. I mean, what can't you say? I went, he definitely helped me out a lot when I was first coming up. He was one of the guys, because he was one of those first guys from PAPW to kind of really want to go, well, not really want to go, but really start to kind of pick up some momentum and like get going into these bigger shows. And yeah, I mean, he's definitely a good guy to talk to. He can go and he'll give you his opinion, he'll give you his critiques, and he's definitely a helpful guy. But I mean, he's also Richard Holiday. You're breathing rarefied air around him. So his style, I like it. It's different. It's a mix of old school and new school. I mean, he he's got the old school look with the boy shorts and everything, but he's still got that new school kind of attitude. What he's doing right now in MLW is pretty cool. I like the characters, his whole persona and everything is awesome. I like how it's going. I'm excited to see the Hammerstone and his match. I'm excited for that one, to see that one. That should be a good one. But no, his style is different. I've worked with him in the ring for trainings and stuff, and he definitely wrestles old school. He's not afraid to snub you a little bit and just show you that it's wrestling. But it's wrestling. You take your bumps, you take what it is. I'm not saying any cheap shots, don't get me wrong. But no, he'll make you work, and he'll make you learn the game and learn the ways just the way he did it. I mean, he was trained by Roma and Mancini. I mean, they're old school 80s wrestlers. So.
Sad Austin Bivens says, "Hey, Mr. M.I.T, fun watching you. Keep impressing everyone.
Appreciate it.
Can you tell us about your in-ring relationships with Mario Mancini and Paul Roma?" Thank you for that question. That was I had that coming up. Thank you. Yep.
In-ring relationships with Roma and Mancini. I think it's good. They may say otherwise. I don't know. I don't ask too many questions all the time. No,
what's it like training with both of them? And how does we say someone like Mario, who had quite the impressive career in the WWF in the 80s into the early 90s, what was it like training with him and Roma?
Oh, it's different, man. I mean, it's one thing to go to a wrestling school. I mean, like, there's wrestling schools around here, and like you look at some of the people who teach at them, and like they have names and stuff, but like they were like shortly in WWF or WWE. Like they did stuff, but Roman's done Four Horsemen. Pretty wonderful. He did all that stuff. Like he's got a resume, and so does Mancini. He's Undertaker's first televised match. Like that's like he told me that. I'll never forget the day he told me I wrestled Undertaker's first televised match. And I'm like, really? And he looked at me and he's like, you think I'm lying to you? And I'm like, dude, Mancini. Like
it's true.
I didn't know, dude. And then I looked it up that night and I was like, I'm like, this dude really wrestles. I'm like, obviously, like I said, Undertaker's one of my favorites. So I was like this dude wrestles one of my favorite wrestlers. Like that's crazy. But in the ring with them though, it's something different though. It's they're old school for sure. Like you learn your bumps, you take your chops, but then they condition you, they work you, they run you the same way that they got ran back in '85. Like Mancini would say, and my dad will probably laugh when I say this. Mancini always would start his story back in '85 in Poughkeepsie, and we're like, oh, Mancini, here we go again. So but I mean, like the road stories are awesome. It's just cool to hear, man. It's like these guys don't do this stuff very much anymore. So getting to just sit there, you just soak everything up. I would sit there and shut up and just listen and just enjoy everything. So it was really cool. Roma's another one. Mancini's one thing, but Roma, it's I don't know if it's the build to me or it's just that I think he's 50. Don't kill me, Roma, if I'm wrong. He might be a little older, younger. I'd rather be on the younger side. But like the dude looks incredible. And I mean, even after everything happened, he still looks great. And so, I mean, being in the ring with Roma, like that's Mancini's intimidating, but Roma's like he runs at you to throw a line, and you're like, okay, here we go. Like this dude knows what he's doing, and he's still pretty jacked.
Yes.
So, no, it was cool working with both of them, though.
Yeah. Roma, for his age, I don't want to throw a number out there, but I think he's 60. He's in incredible shape. He looks the same as he did back in, like, say, 1987. You know what I mean? When in WWF TV, he looks exactly the same.
I think his traps are a little bit smaller. His traps are a little lower on his neck. But and he's got less hair. He doesn't have the mullet anymore, which I wish he could grow back because that'd be pretty cool. But that's what's terrifying. Like I looked up pictures of him after because like I had never really heard of him until I met my dad. Well, I did not think I met my dad, but my dad had me meet him, and I was like looking at him like, Dad, why is this? Like he aged, but like he didn't shrink. Like what happened to him? And yeah, but I think that's what it is, man. It's like you get in the ring with Roma, and you're just like, who is this guy, and how is he still able to do this?
Yeah, it's incredible. Austin Bivens says, "Do you want to keep on moving up the chain and one day try going into the big leagues?" Into the big leagues, excuse me. Couldn't get that out.
If you're good. Oh, of course. I think that's everybody's dream in this business. And I mean, I feel like if it's not your dream, I mean, I understand there's guys that are older now and they're kind of out of their prime where they could go to there. But I mean, if it's not your dream, man, you're a young guy like me or Dustin or all these young guys out there, and that's not your dream to try to get out there. I don't really know what you're doing here. Then I mean, if I had to choose where I'd want to go, I don't know. Couldn't tell you really. I used to was always like, I'm going to WWE, but now
wherever the money is, right? I mean,
yeah, wherever the money's being offered. But I mean, if I had the choice, I don't really know. I mean, obviously, if someone went and offered me a good sum of money and a nice contract, sign me up. But if I got a couple offers out there, I definitely would probably have to take my time. I mean, the products just change so much, and it changes so fast now. It's just you gotta see where you want to go.
How has wrestling changed since you got into it as opposed to today? Like, it's rapidly always changing. It's the sport of professional wrestling. Even since I was a kid, I started watching in 1984. It's evolved so much. So, over
sure.
40 years.
And I mean, and I caught the end of the Attitude Era, because when the Attitude Era ended, I feel like 03, 04,
roughly, yeah, something like that.
Okay. So I caught the end of it. So, which stinks, because a lot of my favorite matches I'll watch now are all from the Attitude Era. So I mean, you saw that change. I mean, instantly. I mean, from Attitude Era to PG. I mean, look at John Cena. Cena's one of the biggest ones. He went from Dr. Thugonomics and runs to the ring and you can't see me. That was his whole gimmick. So he changed that up really quick. And I mean, obviously what they showed was nothing like what they show now. I mean, a lot of different stuff on the earlier Monday Night Raw days. And then once that PG era came in, I mean, it was cool. It still kept me involved. But then it kind of just felt like it was getting too much skits and talking, and it was just kind of boring and not as much wrestling. Now I definitely sit here and I'll pay a lot more attention now, because now, they have the skits, but I feel like they've definitely gotten a lot more back to, okay, let's focus on giving them the product of wrestling. And I mean, just the moves the guys do now. I mean, back in 2003, you weren't seeing Ricochet do a 630. That stuff wasn't. No one was thinking, "Oh, I'm gonna do 1.5 flips, land on my back," and okay, no one was doing that. So now watching that, or all the other stuff that Buddy Matthews, Ray Phoenix, all those guys do, it's a whole nother animal now.
What's your thoughts on, say, AEW coming into the fold for the last 4 years? It's an interesting transition into professional wrestling, I'd have to say, with them coming into play. And it's it's the hot new thing. People are into it, and a lot of people want to go there.
For sure. Definitely. AEW started when I started wrestling, actually training. Okay. So when I was watching it, I was like, it'll fold. It'll be like Lucha Underground, and
a lot of people said
ROH,
that. Yeah.
They kind of folded out a little bit, and then I was sitting there and I saw that first pay-per-view, and I was like, okay. Is this another Ted Turner, Vince McMahon? We're going to another Monday Night War? And then they really started trying to go and push working the same days that Vince was working, and I'm like, okay. I'm like, are we gonna get another? So it was cool to see it from that aspect. Do I think AEW has its faults? Yeah, I think there are some spots where it's some stuff is just all right, I'm gonna flip the next channel for 5 minutes and hopefully come back and there'll be a match going. There's definitely is some cool stuff. Some of the talent's good, some of the talent's not as good, but I mean, it kind of goes back and forth for everybody. I mean, WWE has their guys, Impact has their guys that aren't. So, like, you kind of, no matter where you go, you're going to go and get that. It's kind of just, I guess it's up to personal preference. Me, now that AEW is there, I definitely don't have one preferred brand. I kind of like watching all of them because they all kind of give me a mix of what I like. I feel like if you just stick to one, you kind of just, you're kind of cutting yourself off.
It get boring, right? Yeah, it could get boring.
Yeah, I mean, because like definitely when I was younger, watching like Monday Night Raw, like it was cool. Monday Night Raw, and then you watch Friday Night SmackDown, and like after a while, I'm like, all right, this is boring. And then I just so happened to stumble upon TNA on Thursdays. And I was like, oh god, I just got. And so like getting like extra nights of wrestling, like that was cool. It was cool getting to watch other nights, and then finally get to watch like other shows and stuff like that. It was different. And you see different talent. People do different stuff. Like WWE, when they were PG, they were PG. They did nothing. So that was why I feel like once AEW came in, that's when WWE was like, okay, we kind of got to go PG-13 again a little bit here. We kind of really got to look
a little bit
because otherwise, yeah.
We're talking about, excuse me, with the evolution of professional wrestling, like the indies are in like a huge boom again. Like now, right now, there's wrestling on pretty much every single night of the week. You know, there's IWTV that has several shows throughout the week and between the majors and such. We're just living in an incredible time for professional wrestling.
Oh, no, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I downloaded IWTV and I'm like, oh, this would be cool. And then it's like, I never realized, like, all of a sudden, like, every night, it's like, I'll get a thing, like, hey, watch this one, watch this one.
There's days that IWTV
that's pretty cool. I get like 7 days a week of watching the show.
Yeah.
It's usually an indie show, too, which is what's cool. I mean, it's like I said, man, indie shows are different. And it's just, I mean, I think kind of people are kind of starting to get away from going to mainstream shows. I feel like kind of COVID also kind of helped indie shows because no one wanted to pay for big shows anymore. And everyone didn't want to have 17,000 people cramped up. So I kind of feel like everybody kind of was like, oh, I'll pay $5 and go watch an indie show and see what they do there.
Prices have also jacked up since, say, WWE started running live shows again. Like I've gone to 2 shows. I went to
forever.
2 last year, and the ticket prices were outlandish. So, yeah, I won't do that again anytime soon. GOC says, any stories with Paul Perez and Big Steve?
Big Steve, I actually do not have too many with, except for when the only one was when we borrowed his car to go and do a show at the Cadillac Ranch. Okay. We like they rented our ring out. I think it was like a midget wrestling show all night. It was just stand-up. It was a great night.
Okay.
Other than that though, I never really had much interaction with Steve. He was doing his working his job, doing his thing. And Paul Perez, I have some stories with. It's really a lot of it's just laughs. It's just him talking about Mancini and all them, and a lot of it was him. Obviously, he did our music for a while, so he was helping me with making the Titantron because I can't do that stuff. I'm lucky I could figure this out sometimes. So trying to like figure. I looked at Paul and I was like, Paul, you gotta help me out, buddy. He's like, what do you want? I was like, just smart stuff. I'm like, just give me something smart. And he's like, okay. And so we had stuff come up with the numbers. I think that's what I have now, which obviously is like different music, but it's like a numbers will pop up and you see a chalkboard. So, but no, Paul Perez, I mean, like he'll tell me stories of my dad all the time. Like the story of my dad when he thought it'd be a good idea for him to go on the top rope. Now, mind you, if anybody knows my father, he doesn't look like me. Well, he does, but not athletically. And so my dad decided to go to the top rope and thought he could. I think he was going to drop an elbow or something. I think he was going to try to be like Roma. And Dad, in his beautiful grace, lost his balance and comes off top rope and bails to the outside. And I think he like fractured his heel or something like that. So and of course Dad has never told me that story because Dad will never tell me one of those stories about himself. So when Perez told me that, I ran over to my pop and I was like, "Did you really?" And he goes, Yeah, I was told not to jump off the top rope anymore. So, yeah.
So what else is in store for? Hang on, let me see if I could say this without messing up, Mr. Intellectual Tavius. What do you've got coming up?
What do I got coming up? Well, I obviously have Cataclysm against Cody Perrin at the ST. That's June 3rd. I forget the exact address of it, but I'll post it up on my social media.
At the YMCA.
MIT.
The YMCA in Bridgeport.
Yep, that's what it was.
The Rahola Center. Sorry, I remember. Sorry. Go ahead.
Say that again.
It's the Rahola Center, the YMCA Rahola Center.
Rahola Center, yeah.
Yep.
So I have that show. I believe I have a show hopefully coming up at Sanctuary, hopefully for the 13th of this month. And I'm waiting to hear back, hopefully, about possibly one for Alley Fights, because they have that double show. So I'm hoping to
There's
maybe
the
get
double
on
shot, yep.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if I'm on that one yet. I'm waiting to see for that. But other than that, there was another show that just happened, Sacrifice for Glory. I know.
Okay.
I was talking to them for a little bit. Hopefully, I'm hoping to maybe get on one of their shows when they start coming back up. I know they said they were taking a little break for a little bit, but so hopefully they get back up because that'll be fun. Other than that, really anywhere. I got a show. I know there's a couple people on the show in Scranton soon, so I'm hoping to go and check that one out, see if I could meet that promoter. I think that's an inaugural show for that company. So I'll hopefully go check that out. I'd like to go maybe check out a little bit of NEW, definitely some Beyond. Really anywhere though. Anyone who wants to book me at It's M.I.T Tavius, hit me up. We'll chat, talk, wherever you want me to come. Let me know.
All right, where can people find you on social media, excuse me? You're on Instagram and Twitter, correct?
Instagram, Twitter, and yes, that is it. Instagram and Twitter.
All right, and go find them. And we hope to see you soon. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Is there anything else you want to add before we get out of here?
All I can really say is just thanks for everybody tuning in, and hopefully when I get down to PAPW again, everyone tunes in and watches the show, and hopefully I'm going to be in this for a long time. We'll see where it goes. Hopefully I'll start getting some gold somewhere. I'm hoping PAPW might be the first one I'm hoping for, so I want to get some gold in my home territory first, and then maybe see where else we can go with it.
Right. All right. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in, and I'll see you tomorrow.